Hey, my name is Taylor Honaker, and for my event today, I wanted to review a bill that got passed here in Florida on January 18th. This was also talked about at the beginning of this week at the lead conference thing. If any of y'all joined it, I don't know. I really like this bill, or discussing this bill. I think it's really interesting how it's been proposed and how it's been set up, and kind of everything else that goes behind it. So this bill is Senate Bill 148, and it was passed on January 18th. And then there's another bill that has not been passed yet that is very related to this bill, and that is HB7. So mainly I want to talk about the bill that passed, but this also kind of goes for the bill that has yet to be voted on as well. So pretty much this bill states that individuals are not subjected to concepts under certain circumstances that constitutes discrimination based on race, sex, gender, or national origin. And the biggest thing that I wanted to focus on today as well is that it prohibits instructional material reviewers from recommending material that contain any matter that contradicts certain principles. And that's like one of the biggest things I wanted to get into. So basically, the simplified version is pretty much stating that this bill is hoping to help people feel less discriminated against, but that's very tricky wording, because in actuality it's preventing people from talking about discrimination within these institutions at all. So essentially, teachers are allowed to talk about history, are allowed to talk about slavery, things within the textbook, but they're not able to elaborate on it, and they're also not able to talk about how it might affect us today, and how it might be perpetuated in today's society and institutions, which we know can be a pretty big topic, and I think something that's really important to talk about with people who are learning about all of these things. So, as we know, that's been very prevalent in today's news. One of the biggest theories that I wanted to talk about in conjunction with this is critical race theory, because essentially what they're saying is that this is kind of removing critical race theory from being taught in schools. And so simplified, critical race theory is looking at race and how things like institutions, schools, and history affect race itself, and how we might be able to change these institutions to help create a more equal society, and how it might affect race in general, and how it makes disproportionate places within our society. So obviously we can see that by passing this bill, it's getting rid of this discourse about talking about race and how it might, how people of minorities are more disadvantaged in today's society still, and how slavery and things of that nature might have an effect on today's society and how it is continuing in today's society. So critical race theory is a really big component to this, because it's essentially taking it away, and how that might affect it. Critical race theory, learning about it, that type of thing, and how it might affect how we learn about discrimination in general in today's schools and in the workplace. A big thing that I wanted to talk about this that's from our textbook is the ecological theory, because it's this law can have a broad reach over all of the systems. And I really wanted to give an example of students who feel like they are a part of the LGBTQ community and how that might affect them, how this law might affect them, because I think for personal experiences as well as just in general learning about it in the news and stuff, a lot of kids that are LGBTQ feel very alone and can often feel very different than their families in general. And a lot of families can have certain problems with their child being part of the LGBTQ community, and a support system that a lot of students have found is through their school and through teachers. So we can obviously see on the macro level that this law has caused really to sever that connection between teachers and students, because teachers are no longer able to talk to the students about topics such as being part of the LGBTQ community, such as homophobia, that type of thing. But it can also trickle down to the other systems that the student is a part of. So we obviously know when our support systems are cut that it can be very hard for individuals to feel happy or to feel a part of something. They can get depressed, and we've seen also in today's news how prevalent self-harm and things of that nature are with students today. So we can see this on the micro level of these families, of these parents, and also like having to deal with their child maybe being depressed, and that type of thing, and how that can affect the family as well as their friends in the system. So we can look at it through that system of the micro level system as well the meso system, and how those the family as well as school interact, as well as in the community, especially when we're dealing with students who might feel more discouraged, more depressed, and more separate from the rest of the community, and how that might affect their growing up as well as the other activities that they're doing. And so I felt like the ecological perspective was a really good way to view how this law might affect individuals, especially those in the LGBTQ community. So I'll have all of the laws and stuff linked in the discussion post, and thank you for listening.